This hour with new developments in the war between Israel and Hamas. The U.S. and Israel are now reviewing a counterproposal from Hamas, detailing the terms for a new ceasefire as Hamas sees it. It proposes the release of more Israeli hostages and freed Palestinian prisoners. It would also provide safe passage for desperately needed aid. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken continues his diplomatic mission today. He's moved on to Tel Aviv to meet with Israeli leaders a few hours from now to discuss this new Hamas counterproposal. It's not yet clear how Israel or the U.S. view the proposal, but an Israeli media outlet is just reporting that a senior Israeli official says the demands Hamas is making cannot be met. Blinken said yesterday, as he visited Qatar, that the most effective immediate path forward right now is to ensure and secure an extended period of calm. And U.S. President Joe Biden had a slightly different reaction as he described the terms Hamas has set out as, quote, a little over the top. So let's bring in Abby Kugathasan, who is watching this intense time for diplomacy. A little bit of hope after 4 months of brutal war. Let's look at the counterproposal. What is Hamas demanding?
Heather, the umbrella demand a 4.5-month truce followed by an end to the war. This, of course, part of Hamas's response to the U.S.-backed proposal sent by mediators last week, as per Reuters news agency. They have seen a copy of the Hamas counterproposal. Here's what they say they've seen. Hamas is calling for this truce to unfold in 3 phases. The first phase would see the release of all Israeli women, males under the age of 19, elderly people, and the sick, in exchange for the release of Palestinian women and children being held in Israel. The second phase would see the release of all remaining Israeli male hostages. We're not sure if that includes all IDF soldiers. That's not clear from the Reuters reporting. And in the final third stage, that would see the exchange of the bodies and remains of those who've been killed. Now, Hamas is reportedly also demanding guarantees on the reconstruction of Gaza, and it wants to see all IDF troops withdraw completely from the enclave. This draft is now in the hands of the Israeli coalition government. We know Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has previously said that this war ends when Israel's security is guaranteed and when all the Israeli hostages are released. And as you mentioned, in the last little while, they're making it clear that this is unacceptable, this proposal. Now, in the last 24 hours, Israel also said that more than a fifth of the remaining hostages in Gaza are dead. And as you just said, Heather, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Israel today to meet with Israeli officials. This diplomatic push for a truce now continuing just days after Israel says that its forces are set to storm Rafah. We have seen airstrikes on that area recently as well. And that's where about 1.5 million Palestinians are sheltering. They've got the Egyptian border on one side, the IDF on the other, and nowhere to go, Heather.
So, Abby, again, ceasefire, that is in the counterproposal, terms for hostages. What about aid? What would this deal mean in terms of getting more aid into Gaza?
Well, Hamas is demanding that more food and other basic necessities enter Gaza. We did hear the UN say in recent days that famine is imminent for the more than 2 million Palestinians living inside Gaza. And the UN also said on Tuesday that a humanitarian convoy carrying food to people in northern Gaza was hit by Israeli forces. And we can't forget the UN agency, which provides aid to Palestinians, is now without a large chunk of its funding from several countries, including Canada, the U.S. and Germany, after Israel accused at least 12 of about 3,000 UNRWA staff who are working inside Gaza of participating in the October 7th attacks. The UN says it's looking into Israel's claims, but it also says this agency may not be able to function after the end of this month. As we know, Heather, UNRWA has been a lifeline for Palestinians even before this war.
Abby, thank you very much. Appreciate the reporting, and we will be back to you for more updates as the U.S. and Israel review this Hamas counterproposal. Again, that breaking news that I mentioned in introducing Abby, one of the media outlets in Israel, this is Channel 13, is citing senior Israeli officials as saying some Hamas demands in the hostage deal cannot be met. So we will see what happens ultimately with this latest diplomatic offer.